Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So we have another 13F season under our belts. In this video, I've aggregated all of the sort of high conviction ads and new buys from some great investors that I follow every 13F season. So you can see here I've listed the investor, I've listed their fund, and then I've listed the stock that they bought in the fourth quarter. Again, this could be an add to an original position, something that they'd already held, or an entirely new position. And then in the fourth column here, I gave the industry. And the reason I gave the industry, for a lot of these, you guys probably aren't going to know anything about these particular industries. So it'll be very quick to scratch off some of these different names. You don't have to go any further. If it's something, for me, if it's in oil, gas, and consumables like Chevron, I can just move on. And there's a number of industries here that would apply to me. And then you guys, to be honest, I already made this video, okay? And a few of you reached out to me, said, hey, the screen is frozen at minute 7 onward, okay? I don't edit any of my videos. I just recorded it. I uploaded it. And so I didn't see that issue took place. So this is kind of a redo, but it was also the universe telling me, I think, you could have done better. So I've tweaked this one a little bit. Instead of just going right down the list and talking about each one, I picked out 6 different stocks that were bought in the fourth quarter that I'm interested in going deeper on. Okay, and there's a variety of filters that I use for that. But I'm going to give you guys sort of a jumping off point for each of these 6, if any of them interest you. But let's just go right down the list real quick so you guys can get kind of a whirlwind tour of some of these high conviction bets in the fourth quarter that were made. I'll note as well, some of these investors have been in the game for a very long time. Some of them are quite new. Okay, some of them don't even have to file 13Fs. And I had to kind of read through their letters to their investors as of the end of 2021 to try to see, are they adding anything to the portfolio? So it's a very diverse list, which hopefully you find value in. I'm sure some of these people you haven't even heard of before. So let's just do a whirlwind tour first, and then I'll highlight the 6 that I'm interested in going deeper on. And I have some tabs open to give some great resources for you yourself to learn more if you're interested in those companies. So David Abrams Capital Management bought Coupang. Okay, Coupang, some call it the Amazon of Korea. All right, it's like a 40-odd billion market cap company, obviously in internet and direct marketing retail, just like Amazon, just like Mercado Libre. So that's the first one. Second, Connor Haley, AltaFox Capital. So this guy just filed his first 13F filing. Okay, I guess that means they just crossed that 100 million in assets under management threshold to be required to file a 13F. And this pick was actually announced after the end of the fourth quarter. Okay, so it's more recent than most of these. So this is Hasbro. And we may as well just jump quickly into this one now. So Hasbro is a bit of a special situation. Okay, it's an activist play. AltaFox Capital has identified that they think the management team behind Hasbro really has not managed this company very well. Okay, they've got several really strong assets in Magic: The Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons that management haven't really given a whole lot of attention to. They haven't given those assets the focus that they need to really thrive. So Connor Haley's AltaFox Capital is proposing a spin-off of these kind of top-notch assets within Hasbro. And they've actually nominated 5 different board members. So that's kind of the activist aspect of this. But you can watch. Connor Haley has put out a few videos on this. This is actually an interview that came out yesterday on Yahoo Finance. So I think it was like a 10-minute interview. There's a couple 5-minute clips. But going to Altifox Capital's Twitter profile will kind of give you the latest info that they've put out about Hasbro, what they see in terms of the current situation, and how they want to impact that going forward to create more value for shareholders. So that's the first one that I think is intriguing, perhaps worth digging deeper into. Like I said, pretty new. I think Altifox has only been managing capital for about 4 years, but their annualized returns are just incredible. I think they're north of 50% over those 4 years. So, and they seem to really focus on small cap stocks. So, really intrigued by what they're doing. Next on the list, David Tepper of Appaloosa Management. He added to Macy's and bought a new position in General Motors. Neither of those I have any interest in. Next, Yen Liao, manager of Aravd Global. So he bought GitLab in the fourth quarter. GitLab, he actually pitched at the Sosan conference in Australia, where Charlie Munger was speaking as well. I think that was late last year. So GitLab is a new buy, and Semler Scientific. Okay, Semler Scientific, healthcare equipment and supplies. So Semler is sort of my second pick on this list out of the 6 that I kind of flagged for myself. So Semler is pitched in this video with the Equity Mates podcast. Okay, this was late November, so it's still pretty fresh. 3 months ago, this was pitched by Yen here. A couple minutes, I think he spent on Semler Scientific. Starts around minute 26. So check that out if you're interested in that space. Small company. If I recall, it's like $500 million in market cap, something like that. And I think it's dropped quite a bit since Yen bought into it originally. So that's the second one there. We got Seth Klarman, Baupost Group, Fiserv. Okay, Fiserv out of Wisconsin, where I grew up. 60, I think it's 60 some odd billion market cap, IT services company. Not something that I think I'd be able to wrap my head around. Next one, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway. So Chevron was kind of the bigger position that was added to, 33% added to Chevron in the fourth quarter. And then you've got 3 quite a bit further down the list in that 13F that were probably Ted or Todd plays. An add to Liberty. And then you got New Holdings and Activision Blizzard, which I believe were both new buys in the fourth quarter. So nothing really there for me to sink my teeth into. Next on the list, Cliff Sosan, okay, CAS Investment Partners. I think Cliff Sosan has been managing this for 9 or 10 years now, might be 10 years. And he has a very impressive track record, I think north of 30% CAGR for Cliff Sosan. Added to Hilton Grand Vacations in the fourth quarter. So I can't tell if that's like a reopening play or if there's some kind of, I think there may be a special situation happening there with a spin-off or something like that. So that's not really compelling to me, so I'm not going to dig deeper into that one. But there it is, a hotel play from Cliff Sosan. Next, Greg Alexander, one of the 3 managers that, I think this was like 10 years ago, Buffett said this, if I had to have someone else manage my money, who would I pick? And it was Greg Alexander, Lee Lu, or Seth Klarman. Okay, those were the 3 investors that were kind of top of the mountain in the eyes of Warren Buffett. So you've got Greg Alexander of Conifer Asset Management added to Baba. Okay, Alibaba. I think it was like a 20% addition to Alibaba in the fourth quarter. And he's been adding, I think, pretty frequently over the last year. And of course, same with Charlie Munger of Daily Journal, also just about doubled their position in Baba in the fourth quarter. So additions to Baba we keep seeing as it continues to fall. Pat Dorsey of Dorsey Asset Management added to Wix, and I think Wix is the largest position for Pat Dorsey, if I'm remembering that correctly. And Posh. Posh was interesting to see. It seems like Posh is this kind of online marketplace in used clothing. Okay, so obviously they've got to make it, right? They've got to become a platform that gets these network effects, right? That they become sort of a dominant platform that enough people are using to make it compelling from a customer perspective. So if that happens, could be a very interesting company to watch, much like Etsy or Redbubble has been getting some attention from various super investors. Strikes me as another one of those kind of plays. Terry Smith with Fundsmith. Now, Terry Smith got a lot of attention in the third quarter buying Amazon after it seemed like years of talking about how Amazon, he just didn't quite get it. He wasn't there with Amazon in terms of the return on capital employed being compelling. It seemed like the retail side of the business was just really dragging that down. But for a few reasons that he talked about in a podcast, I think it was in December, Terry Smith was able to finally, buy Amazon. Same thing with Google. He's been talking for years about how, he looks at the numbers with Google. All of these kind of moonshot bets that they're making in that kind of VC type aspect of their business, that just, he couldn't wrap his head around that. But that seems to have shifted. Terry Smith now owns Google as of the fourth quarter. Scott Miller of Greenhaven Road Capital added, I think it was bought new into Teladoc and added to Interactive Corp. Okay. Now, Interactive Corp is the third company here on my list of companies that are interesting. There's another investor down this list, Dennis Hong, where Interactive Corp is his largest position in Shaw Spring Partners. And it's an intriguing business model to me. If you guys want to hear more about the business model, Joey Levin, the CEO of IAC, Interactive Corp, did an interview very recently, right, 4 days ago, with Invest Like the Best, Patrick O'Shaughnessy. So it's a holding company, right, builds world-class digital businesses, and then it spins them out to really kind of capture the full value of these incredible companies. Has produced 11 public companies, Match, Expedia, Live Nation. So it reminds me a little bit of Berkshire Hathaway in a way that technically it's a conglomerate, right? It's a holding company, but they're really trying to let these incredible businesses do their thing, right? They're not trying to get in there and mix their own special sauce into it. So it's kind of got this, centralized structure but decentralized ethos that really appeals to me. So if you're interested at all in Interactive Corp, check out this podcast episode. Next one, we've got Josh Tarasoff of Greenlee Lane Capital. And of course, Josh Tarasoff was plugged recently by Monish Pabrai as an investor to pay attention to, potentially clone, right? Get some new ideas from. And there is one new idea in the fourth quarter from Josh Tarasoff, and that is Peloton. Okay. Not a company I'm interested in at this point, but perhaps further down the road. Fred Liu of Hayden Capital. Okay, so this is not someone who has to file a 13F. I think Fred hasn't quite hit that 100 million assets under management threshold, but I was reading through Fred's latest letter to investors. I think it was Q4 2021 letter, and most of that letter was devoted to C Limited and kind of his investment thesis for C Limited. And I think C is down maybe like 2/3, from just a quarter or two ago. So it's really gotten beat up in terms of price. So if you're interested in C Limited, it's really been one of these high flyers. I think it's only been public for maybe 6 years, and it was like a 27 bagger just a quarter or two ago, and it's come down to like a 9 bagger since then. But I mean, 6 years, 9 bagger, great. Like, who can complain about that? So C Limited Gaming Company, one to watch in Asia, really seems to be growing into something pretty impressive. Next on the list, Li Lu, Himalaya Capital, needs no introduction. Of course, Li Lu manages some of Charlie Munger's family money. Added to Facebook, added about 53% to the Facebook position in the fourth quarter. And this was in the same quarter that Facebook announced the rebrand, right, to Meta. So we don't know if Li Lu added before that was announced, but clearly he didn't sell after that was announced by the end of the year of 2021. His net add in the fourth quarter was 53% to Facebook. So whenever Li Lu does anything, that really gets my attention because I really respect him as an investor. And this ad was before the recent price crash. Right, if you look at what the prices of Facebook were in Q4 and you look at what they are now, they are down substantially. So this could really be one to look at. And this is actually the next one on my list. One of the 6 that I plucked out here. And this just happened. So Monish Pabrai interviewed Divya Narendra. Okay, and Divya was involved with Facebook from the beginning. Okay, I'm pretty sure Facebook IPO'd in like 2004, and Divya has owned Facebook since then. Okay, like 18 years he's owned the stock. So Pabrai kind of interviewed Divya about Facebook and what he thinks the future holds for that company. So this was a live Zoom call. Okay, that happened. When did it happen? I mean, it should say on here, right? The 16th. Okay, so 3 days ago is when this Zoom call happened. I was on the Zoom call. There was also a Twitter Spaces that was happening at the same time with the same broadcast. But pretty soon, check out SumZero's YouTube channel. And this should be coming out soon, the replay of this conversation between Pabrai and Narendra. So check that one out. It was a great conversation. Just kind of a teaser for that. Pabrai is, in the interview he said he's not buying Facebook, okay? But he does see Facebook as a double in the next 2 or 3 years. Pretty high likelihood of a double in the next 2 or 3 years. So his suggestion, for people who want to own Facebook, buy it because it's a compelling price now. And then in 2 or 3 years, we'll have more visibility on whether Meta is likely to dominate this new space that they're attacking in the metaverse or not. So, it's kind of an upside with little downside, at least as far as Monish Pabrai sees it. So that's Facebook. Matt Sweeney of Laughing Water Capital pitched Countryside Properties. Now, this is I think, less than $1 billion market cap in the United Kingdom. So it's a home builder. And the pitch is it's a capital light home builder. So it's kind of taking a page from NVR's playbook. Okay, and for those of you who have studied great businesses over the last couple decades, you're probably aware of NVR. I think Norbert Liu was in NVR pretty early on, like in the early 2000s, and did very well on that. So if you look at Laughing Water Capital's latest letter to their investors, Matt Sweeney spends about a page, maybe a page and a half, on this idea, Countryside Properties. Stephen Mandel of Lone Pine Capital, Amazon, MasterCard, Snap, and Visa. Okay, that's what he added to. Amazon, MasterCard, Visa, clearly incredible businesses. There's no doubt about how wide the moats are on those businesses. Snap, I know less about. I've never actually used Snapchat. So Bill Miller Value Partners. So Bill Miller added to Mattel. Actually, I think Mattel was a new buy in the fourth quarter. Games company, leisure products, it's labeled as in ticker terminal. Ovintiv, which is an oil, gas, and consumable fuels company. And Coinbase was another new buy for Bill Miller in the fourth quarter. And Coinbase is actually number 5 on the list of companies that are intriguing to me. So for anyone who wants to dig deeper on Coinbase, Fred Liu, who's one of the investors I already mentioned, right, who was adding to C Limited recently, did a pretty thorough write-up of Coinbase. Finally published our coin thesis this weekend. This was back in November. So again, still pretty fresh, 3-4 months ago. Still early days, but we believe the crypto economy is in the midst of crossing the chasm into mainstream adoption and use cases, upon which Coinbase will benefit in the Western markets. So again, just find this tweet from Fred Liu on Twitter, and you can go directly to his, I think it's like an 80-page write-up or something like that on Coinbase. And again, the price for Coinbase is also down substantially from where Fred did this write-up 3 or 4 months ago. Okay, let's see. So we've got Monish Pabrai adding to Micron. Okay, I think Pabrai bought into Micron like 4 years ago, something like that, 2018, 2019. I think it was 2018. And then Li Lu, I believe, bought into Micron in 2019. And Micron is Li Lu's largest holding in the U.S. That we can see through 13F filings. Most of Li Lu's money we can't see. Okay, he's only got like $2 billion or so in the U.S. and his fund manages like $20 billion or something like that. So most of that, I would suspect, is in China. But there's a lot of big names in Micron. So Pabrai adding to Micron in the fourth quarter. Bill Ackman, Pershing Square. So he didn't have anything on his 13F filing. But he announced that Pershing Square bought Netflix. I think it was in February, so earlier this month. So, we got a sneak peek at the next 13F, at least with his Netflix position. Let's see. Phil Town added to Baba. And I believe it was it might have been like a tripling of his stake in Alibaba with Philtown. Didn't add to anything else. In fact, he cut some things out of the portfolio, but this was his only add in the fourth quarter. Alibaba. And I will note, Philtown is approaching 50% in cash in the Rule 1 fund. Okay, so pretty remarkable level of cash. I mean, even if you compare it to Berkshire Hathaway, that has, what, 150 billion or something, that's only 25% or less of the entire market cap of Berkshire Hathaway. So Philtown very heavy in cash. I'm very curious to see how that plays out for him. And of course, Charlie Munger mentioning in the Daily Journal annual meeting that he's never been a fan of hoarding cash, at least not for himself. He just buys the best thing he can find. Okay, and that's definitely I lean more in that direction than hoarding cash, because hoarding cash, it's really a market timing thing. I mean, there's situations where you can hoard cash just because you can't find anything, but I mean, 50%, that's getting a little scary, especially in the inflation environment that we're in. I'm very curious. I'd be very curious to hear from Phil how he's thinking about having that much cash. Rob Vinall of RV Capital. Wix was added to, and Carvana is a new buy. And Rob mentions, Rob is in Switzerland, RV Capital is in Switzerland, and he mentions he was really able to get to a place that he was comfortable with Carvana in terms of being able to buy into it, having conversations with Cliff Sosan, who I already mentioned up here. Cliff Sosan and Rob Vinall are friends. So, of course, Carvana, the online kind of used car marketplace, they're really trying to dominate that market. And Cliff Sosan, Rob Vinall, it seems like they think that Carvana can do that. So that'll be an interesting one to watch play out as well. Joe Frankenfield from Saga Partners. I don't think Saga Partners has a 13F. If they do, I wasn't able to find it. But I really appreciate Joe's letters to his investors. Okay, definitely find that and read through it. He actually talks about, I think he has like 6 holdings. So he talks about each one in there and kind of shows a chart of market cap to trailing 12 months of gross profits. And it's remarkable how from 2018 to 2021, 2022, those multiples have expanded very aggressively and then come back down equally aggressively over that just 4-year period. He kind of lays that out in chart form. But yeah, I really respect Joe. He's kind of one of these smaller investors that I'm paying very close attention to. And Redfin was his, I think it was his only purchase in 2021. So obviously real estate management and development company, Redfin. So check that out if you're interested. Check out his letters as well. Highly recommended. Bill Ruane's Sequoia Fund. Okay, Sequoia Fund bought Wayfair. I think maybe they just added to Wayfair. And my sense of Wayfair is, it's kind of an online retailer for home decor, home goods, furniture. If you want to furnish a house using a company that's similar to Amazon, you go to Wayfair and you can get a decent deal on furnishing your home. So that's Wayfair. Dennis Hong Shawspring, I already mentioned IAC. Again, plug in this podcast episode from Invest Like the Best. Simon Barnard. Okay, Smithson. What is Smithson? Okay, Smithson is the small and mid-cap fund under the Fund Smith umbrella. So Terry Smith, we already talked about, bought Google in the fourth quarter. Within the Smithson Fund, the most recent buy was Montclair. Montclair is a luxury clothing company out of Italy. Okay. And this was actually my sixth pick here to round out the list, kind of narrowing down which of these companies intrigue me. So Montclair is here. Montclair's CEO Remo Ruffini talks digital domination in China. So this was really intriguing to me, that you got this Italian luxury clothing company, where their biggest market right now is China. Okay, I thought that was not intuitive, but I'm actually more interested seeing that that's the case. So you've got this interview through Jing Daily with the CEO of Montclair. If you guys are interested in kind of learning a little bit about the company and their digital strategy, and how they're playing the China card here. So check that out again if you're interested in luxury clothing. If you're interested in Italy, that's a 17 billion market cap luxury clothing retailer, online retailer. They have physical stores as well, but I think, especially with the pandemic, they're really pivoting into the digital space. So that is Smithson. Chris Hone of the Children's International Fund added info. Okay, IHS Market, and this is like a research services company, professional services. I'm pretty sure I used some of their research back when I was in real estate. Okay, they do some really nice real estate research and put out some good reports for that. So info was Chris Hone's pick for Q4. You got Daniel Loeb of Third Point, Amazon, and Accenture were his two ads in the fourth quarter. Mark Walker of Tollymore Partners, Naked Wines. Okay, Naked Wines. Now, Naked Wines came across my radar. Norbert Liu was adding to it late last year. And bear in mind, the price now is quite a bit less than where Norbert Liu was buying in. Greg Alexander also owns Naked Wines. And then Elliott Turner as well of RGA Investment Advisors. Now, I'm bummed out Elliott Turner doesn't have to file 13Fs for RGA Investment Advisors, but he does put out quarterly letters to his investors that are available. And in the most recent quarterly letter, the Q4 letter for RGA Investment Advisors, he talks about 5 of their holdings that have really gotten beat up recently. PayPal is one, Roku is one. So you can kind of look at, what kind of a quick investment thesis for some of those companies that have gotten beat up. So, if you've heard of Elliott Turner, he's got a big following on Twitter, and you want to kind of get into his head on a couple ideas in his portfolio that have gotten beat up, potential opportunities there. Check out his Q4 letter to investors. So this is Naked Wines. I'd be much more interested in Naked Wines if I were a wine drinker, and if the insiders had more skin in the game. Okay, very little skin in the game for the current CEO and kind of current management team. So, that's really where Naked Wines was a miss for me. Andrew Brenton, Turtle Creek Asset Management, EEFT. Okay. I don't remember what that is. Some European kind of payments company. Lastly, Jeff Ubben, Value Act Capital, also with Fiserv. Okay, so Value Act and Seth Klarman's Baupost, right, are very well regarded value investors who have been in this game for a very long time, and they both took significant stakes in Fiserv. I think those were both new buys for both of those managers. So something to look into if you're familiar with that space. So that is it, guys. That is, I don't know how many there are here. There's 31 different investors here. And some of them have multiple. So I don't know, maybe it's 40, 45 stocks here. And again, my 6 that I plan on spending more time on: Hasbro with Connor Haley, Yen Liao with Semler Scientific, Interactive Corp with Joey Levin on the Invest Like the Best podcast. You've got Facebook, needs no introduction, Coinbase with Fred Liu and Bill Miller. Recent, of course, that's no surprise that Bill Miller bought into Coinbase recently. He has finally come out as a Bitcoin bull. Okay, when he did an interview in December with Wealth Track, his number one pick, whenever Wealth Track does an interview, they ask, what's your highest conviction bet? I think it's over like the next 10 years. And for Bill Miller, it was Bitcoin. Okay, so not a big surprise that he bought Coinbase. And then lastly, the Italian luxury fashion company, Montclair. So those are the 6 that I'm most interested in from the Q4 Guru buys. And I will leave it there, guys. Let me know in the comments which of these you're most intrigued by, and let's share notes. Best way to hit me up sharing notes is Twitter. Send me a direct message. My DMs are open, and we can continue this conversation. So fun times, guys. I love 13F season. I'm already excited for the next one. But in the meantime, there's plenty here to sink my teeth into over the next 3 months. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.